Devil, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
Welcome. Did I happen to say welcome back to another beginning of another week of the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Rap Sports Network, with your boy MattyB on the call. Welcome to a beautiful beginning of your sports or I should say the beginning of your Final Word broadcast week. And it's great to be back once again with you, to be the purveyor of said broadcast and all the things that we do and all the things that we do for you. Good evening, Matty. How was your weekend? Adam, my weekend was good. How about you? Quiet, man. It was a quiet weekend. Kind of laid low and absorbed. That's right, absorbed. Took it all in as I do. But I hope your weekend was good, Adam, and I hope everybody else's weekend out there was equally as good. But we're back. It's time to get the week started, and we don't have a shortage of things to talk about, as we never do, because we did have a lot of things to happen since the last time we spoke. One of those major things was the NHL trade deadline has come and gone, and the Flyers were sellers, as they should have been, and thankfully they kind of did that. They made some moves, and we're going to get into them. The NHL as a general made some moves, and we're going to get into those moves as well. We're also going to talk about the future of the Philadelphia Flyers heading into this final stretch of games, which is not looking too good. Four losses in a row now for the Flyers. They fell today, or they fell in a back-to-back over the weekend between New Jersey and who did they play yesterday? Oh, yeah, Seattle. And the season begins to continues now to sort of unravel. We'll get into some of the, I guess, try to talk to you about the future and try to kind of make this look a little bit better than it seems right now, because it doesn't seem too good at all. That's because it doesn't. But I'm going to attempt. MattyB is going to attempt to calm you down. That's right. I am taking the role of peacemaker tonight. And matter of fact, as I was thinking about doing this show tonight, the fact that it dawned on me that I haven't really been that controversial lately, and it's an interesting look for me. I don't know if it's because I've agreed with a lot of things, or things are slow, or a combination of both. But I'm not going to be controversial tonight. I'm going to give you what I think you want to hear, and that's out of my depth. That's not what I'm used to doing. So bear with me on that. And if I flub it, please bear with me. Of course, the title of the show is Springing Ahead, and today, for those of you that weren't aware of this or missed the memo, we gained an hour of sunlight and we lost an hour of sleep. I hate that time of the year. I much prefer the fall back to the spring ahead. But of course, the spring ahead is another step closer to that glorious, magical summertime. And what, of course, is so great about summer? Well, there's a lot of things, and the Phillies are on that list. We'll talk a little Phillies baseball as we're getting closer, man. We're getting closer every day. March 18th is the start of the regular season in the major leagues. The Dodgers and the Cubs will kick it off on the 18th and 19th out in Tokyo. Phillies won't get it rolling until the 27th, but we're still I can see it. I can see the rainbow, so to speak. So we'll get a little Phillies talk rolling. We got an update on a card, the Paul Skeens auction that we talked about the other night. Remember, refresh your memory, the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 auto MLB patch relic from the Topps Update Chrome series of 2024 that was found or was purchased in a box of cards by a family and then given to their son on Christmas morning. He opened up his 5th pack of opening cards that morning, and he found the one of one, the Mount Rushmore of cards when it comes to 2024. We're going to give you an update on where that card is. It's on auction right now, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this number. We're also going to talk some maybe some Eagles. Maybe I'll mix the Eagles in a little bit. I don't know. I'm getting tired of talking about the Eagles. This is the time of the year we got to focus our attention on other players, other teams. But there is an Eagles comment I want to get to definitely before the end of the show. And then our card review of the night segment, all those great things that this day in Philadelphia sports, all those awesome things we do on this program on a night-to-night basis. And before we get going, remind everybody that this and every other program on the It's a Wrap Sports Network is brought to you by the good folks at the It's a Wrap Sports Network as we continue to grow this thing from the beginning, the bottom up. And good news is coming here for the network over the next few days. We're going to grow the network by at least 2 shows, and I cannot wait to formally announce what those shows are and when they'll be here. But it is definitely coming. So that's a good thing. That is good for us. And please, we need the like, we need to subscribe, the share, the follow, all those great things. Please help us out as we try to grow this thing. So let's get it going. Let's buckle in, strap in, put your hands and feet inside the car at all times, and let's get this bad boy rolling with your day in Philadelphia sports history. Go back to the ripe old year of 2002. And on this day, Phillies manager Larry Bowa got ejected from a Grapefruit League spring training game. That's right. Larry Bowa got ejected from a spring training game. And that's not the story, but the story was his behavior was so egregious that he got suspended for 2 games into the regular season over that ejection. So Larry Bowa, who a fiery guy, we definitely know that, old school manager, old school type player, really, if you kind of look at how he figured in the Phillies sort of like renaissance, he was the first manager. You know, he was the guy after Francona, and the team really began to turn a corner underneath Larry Bowa's stewardship. Of course, he wasn't around when it really turned, and they had to fire him at the end of the 04 season. But I think, honestly, from Bowa showing up in 01 all the way through 2014 or 2013, the Phillies were a competitive baseball team for the most part. And Larry Bowa was kind of the beginning of that. So, but on this day, the antics definitely preceded him. There was a lot of stuff that clubhouse relationships with players. Tyler Houston, a fringe MLB player who actually I knew his dad or stepdad. I knew his stepdad. Him and Larry Bowa got into it on multiple occasions inside the Philly clubhouse. Larry would mix it up with players on the norm as he was trying to be the old school coach. And that was sort of the first sign of the new generation, you know. But on this day in 02, Larry Bowa gets ejected and then subsequently suspended. Gets ejected from a Grapefruit League spring training game and then suspended for the first 2 games, I believe, of the 02 regular season for his actions against an umpire on this day back in 02. And there you go. There is your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the good folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Michael Papernick Jr. chiming in saying Devontae Smith signs a 2-year deal with the Rams. Yeah, I seen that, Mike. I saw that he wanted to stay on the West Coast. And he got his wish as he's now going to be teamed up with, I guess, Matt Stafford. Is Matt Stafford still going to be the quarterback out there, or is they're trying to move him as well? But the Rams are loading up another weapon out there to go along with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So pretty interesting signing by the Rams today. Of course, none of this is official until when does the free agency period begin? Next week, some point. But yeah, Devontae Adams signing a 2-year deal with the Rams. How does that affect the Eagles? And how does that affect the Eagles free agency drive? I know that they were not really the Eagles were not players for Devontae Adams, but you know, we talked about this last week with the 2 big contracts that were given out last week by Howie. Is this going to be a completely internal free agency for the Eagles? Are they going to address all their internal players and not be players externally? I think it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Howie warned us about that back at the Combine, said that this is not going to be your traditional free agency period for this team. So I wonder what he meant by that, and we're about to find out here over the next couple of days. But Devontae Adams, yes, is definitely a Ram now. 2-year deal. Joining Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matt Stafford out in L.A. All right. Let's go with this with the topic. The main point. So on this network, we do post game shows, and actually, for those of you that were following us way a long time ago when we were still in EOP, when I was with EOP, these post game shows were created, or the Flyers and Phillies ones were created by me. They're my property. I was able to broker an opportunity to start doing those shows on EOP, and obviously we've continued that over here. Now, the Clear the Ice program, which is our Flyers post game show, has always been, it was born in the midst of all this nonsense, and we have trudged along valiantly through some bad seasons of hockey. I mean, 22-23 was our first year, 23-24, now 24-25, our third year of doing Flyers post games. And for those that have come and gone on the program, and there's been a lot of them, this year's crew, myself, Sal, and Mike. By the way, Mike was on earlier today with the Devils, and he was also on yesterday. So there's a lot of work being done to bring you these types of programs, a lot of time committed into giving you the best post-game coverage that we can. And to have to constantly trudge through these types of seasons. Now, the first year that we did the show, it was the year that they fired Chuck Fletcher, and now we've gone through the first 2 years of the rebuild with the same results, no playoff hockey. Now, it ain't over till it's over, but it ain't looking like the Flyers are making the playoffs. And by their actions on Friday, by the fact that the Flyers were sellers, and I think it was the appropriate thing to be, and they made the right trades, they're not going to be in the playoffs this year, right? And that should not come to a surprise to anybody out there. But from a show standpoint, we talk about this all the time. October and April are the two busiest months on the sports calendar when it comes to being in this business. And over the last 3 years, we've been blessed, in October at least, with having the opportunity to go 4-for-4. Now, we wouldn't have the opportunity or ever have the opportunity to go 4-for-4 in April, but you still have potential NBA, NHL playoff runs that you could talk about, along with the Phillies starting their regular season. But now, for the first time, well, not for the first time, I mean, it's been the entire time, we're not going to have much to talk about when it comes to playoff hockey. And, of course, the Sixers, don't even start there. But it's soon to be a one-horse show here in Philadelphia, as the Phillies will take it over at the end of the month. And unfortunately, I got to make a programming announcement from the executive chair that I hold here at It's a Wrap Sports, because I am the Lord and the master of this network. Don't be fooled by what you might hear out there. It is me pulling all the strings behind the scenes, right? I am the puppet master, right? I made a decision, barring a drastic turnaround by this hockey team. We are going to cease and desist on all future Clear the Ice post-game shows after March 30th against the Avs. I'm sorry, March 31st against, not the Avs, the Predators. So March 31st, Nashville will be the final Clear the Ice broadcast of this season. We will be back next year, hopefully. Oh, we will be, and hopefully the Flyers will continue, maybe carry us into April for only the second time in our show's history. We did go term last year. We made it to the end of the season because the Flyers kept us in it. But this year it's not looking like it, and I've made a decision to start focusing our limited resources and manpower here on this network towards the Phillies at the end of April, or at the end of March into April. So we are going to cease and desist with all Clear the Ice episodes for the month of April, and effectively end the season on March 31st, the home game against Nashville, which I will cover. I will be the host of that show. So again, we will be back. We will be back next season, but I'm at an end when it comes to this team right now. I'm at an end. It is so taxing and so emotionally draining to watch this hockey team play. And this weekend's been a disaster. There's been some really bad effort of hockey. Tortorella's been frustrated. The Flyers are not getting goaltending. Goaltending is as reared its ugly head as now being a major problem on this team. And once again, this shouldn't be any surprise to any Flyer fan that has any kind of distance with this team. Goaltending has always been a problem. And here we are again, another problem with it, which was something that we weren't expecting in this rebuild. We didn't necessarily think that we're going to have to deal with goaltending problems, but here we are. So we're going to stop doing the post games for the Flyers at the end of March. March 31st will be the final one, and then we'll focus fully on the Phillies into April and beyond. And then sometime in June, we'll come back and do a season review show, get you ready for the draft, free agency, and all that. And we will return in 25-26 for Clear the Ice, and hopefully this is the season that we actually make a playoff run. And I'm going to get into some of those things right now. But let me just say that this would be the second time in the show's history that we've pulled the plug early because of just uncompetitive hockey and just the end is nigh, and we focused in on bigger and better things. So I do want to thank, and I will thank them more, but Sal, mainly Sal, because Sal, you guys don't know that Sal's not a hockey guy. I think he is now. I think after this season he is. But heading into this season, it took some coaxing to get Sal to agree to do Clear the Ice. He was all in to help out any which way he could. And I said, listen, I really need somebody to help me out with Clear the Ice because it's really just me and you at this point. And he, you know what? He said, I'll do my best. And he has. He's done a great job. He's grown in his knowledge of hockey, and he's grown in his vernacular of hockey. He's grown everywhere. And he's done an outstanding job. So I want to thank him. And then, of course, Mike coming on in March. If you've noticed, I haven't been on the post game lately. And that's the reason. There's a reason for that, because I'm giving Mike all my reps essentially to get him caught up. But Mike has done this before, and there's no not trying him out or anything. I'm just taking a break. Essentially, I'm taking a break. So Mike come on, and he did back-to-back games this weekend. You're going to see him a lot over the course of the next couple of weeks. So we will terminate Clear the Ice on March 31st against the Predators. That'll be our final Flyer post-game show. And then we'll focus solely on the Phillies and then the draft, the NFL draft, MLB draft, NHL draft. And we'll get you ready for the next season with some Flyer stuff too. So sad news. I know it is sad. I never want to, I'm a soldier at heart, so I don't ever want to do a half-ass mission, but I just got to be smarter with my assets right now. And moving on from the fight and from Clear the Ice at the end of the month. Not permanently. We will be back next year, but we're going to cease and desist all post-game Flyers activity on March 31st. So bad news, sad news. Adam says he just bought a 100-card set of 90 Topps cards and a set of 90 NFL cards today. So you bought Topps baseball. What were the cards? What were the football cards, Adam? What brand? They Topps, Upper Deck, Panini, Stadium, Club. What are they? And as far as the 90 cards go, 90 Topps, that's an interesting year. That's Griffey's rookie year, obviously. That's the big card you're looking for out of the 90 Topps is the Ken Griffey rookie card. And the bigger card of that is the scab card. It'd be the one where he's got a bloody scab on his forearm because he's holding a bat like this, and on his forearm is a bloody scab. Look for that card. That's the error card. That's the big mahoof right there. That's a big time card. I sold a 90 rookie. I had a 90 rookie Griffey. I pulled it from a pack out of a card store in Cooperstown, New York, 2 years ago. And I just recently sold it. Now I'm thinking I might have messed up. I recently sold it for $70. It's a raw card. It's not graded. And if you look at the trends of raw cards of the Griffey rookie 90, that's pretty much what it's going for. But it's got potential. If it grades out to be a PSA 9 or 10, or PSA 10 specifically, you're talking about a $7,000, $8,000 baseball card. But I moved on from it because I don't know if it was a 10. And I felt okay with it. I felt okay with the deal. So, but that's the big card out of 90 Topps. Is the Griffey rookie with the bloody scab on his forearm. That's the one you're really looking for. Other card is 90 Topps. I want to say no, he's not there. No, he's not there. That might be the big one right there. Frank Thomas, is he 90 Topps? He might be. Yeah, he's 90 Topps as well. Frank Thomas, I have that rookie card from Topps. 90 is the big hurt. It's about a $500 card right now as a PSA 10. It's a pretty good set, Adam. But if you're asking me, and if you're going vintage back into the wax era of cards, go way back. Go 84 and lower. That's where you need to, or 85. Let's go 85 and lower. That's what you want to really sink your teeth into, because you're looking at some big time cards in that era from 85 to like 70. Big time cards, you know, and those are the cards right now in the market when you're talking wax are pretty popular and pretty expensive. So, and a lot of dealers are looking for them right now. So 85 and lower tops baseball. If you guys are looking to get into the collecting aspect of all this, go ahead and look that way. But 90 is a good year. Talking like Adam got me all sidetracked talking about baseball cards. So Flyers, yeah, let's get into that. So Friday, the trade deadline came and went, and the Flyers unloaded 3 players. Scott Laughton to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 2026 first round pick, and I believe a 2026 or 7th round pick, and it cost them Scott Laughton and a 7th round pick. Right, they got a 3rd and they gave up 7. Erik Johnson, the seldom used 7th defenseman, was sent back into the Colorado Avalanche for a 3rd round pick, and a kind of a olive branch moment for the Flyers as they were giving Johnson an opportunity to chase a cup with in a familiar place. And the Kuzmenko trade to the Kings for a 3rd round pick next year, all very expected trades. And I approve of them all. Erik Johnson was, what the hell was Erik Johnson? 18 games played this season. I mean, he was really ever used. Kuzmenko was brought here to be traded. I mean, it was a price gouging move. It was a salary dump move to bring him here for Farabee. They got rid of 2 years of Farabee's $5 million AAV to pick up his 1 year of AAV of $5 million. Now they're completely free of that. So I approve of that deal. And then, of course, the Scott Laughton trade, which was the jewel of the Nile, was the really good one. But as I did some digging, I found out that the Scott Laughton to the Maple Leafs trade was actually a watered down version of what the Flyers were trying to do with the Maple Leafs. Apparently, and this comes from a good source, the Flyers were attempting to move both Laughton and Ristolainen to Toronto for a multiple 3 first-round picks spread out over 3 years and 2 second-round picks. And it was almost brokered, but it fell through at the very end because of money, obviously. So they settled on just moving Laughton, and they kept hold of Ristolainen. Now that's the player everyone's kind of like, why couldn't we have moved off of Risto? I personally am okay with holding on to Risto. Travis Sanheim is the player I want to move off of, but no one's taken $6 million AAV of his money through 2030. No one's taking that money off our hands. So I'm okay with maybe trying to broker Risto in a trade, hell, and Sanheim at that matter, in a trade over the summer. But I'm okay with the trades. I give Danny B a solid A on what he did. I think it was pretty expected. I think he got fair market value for those players, all assets related. The Flyers got absolutely nobody in return except for one player, which we will actually talk about tonight, a new prospect player by the name of Nikita. Let's put him up here. I'll give you his little player card right now, but we're going to go over him in a little bit. But Nikita Graboinkin was the other player that came back for Scott Laughton. He will be assigned. He is going to be assigned to the Phantoms. Former 5th round pick in 2022 of the Maple Leafs, a left wing, right wing, 6'2", 209-pound forward, which fits the mold. I can live with that. Has remarkable stick handling ability, can get creative to challenge defensemen one-on-one. Pretty fast too, but needs to learn to play within the structure. So there's a project player there, a former 5th round from 2022. It's actually pretty good that he's worked out to this point. He's had a cup of coffees with the Maple Leafs, but mainly playing for the Marlies of the AHL. Will assume his role with the Phantoms as well. And it's somebody the Flyers can continue to work for and work on and work with. And that was your, by the way, that was part of your of the night segment. That was the Flyers prospect part of it. So remember that when I don't show it again. But he's the one player the Flyers got back, and the rest of it was all draft capital, which is, of course, understandable. But the other thing that people are not necessarily, there's some talk about it, which is good. The other thing the Flyers got back in this trade, in these trades, was that ever-important salary cap. Heading into the trade season, the Flyers were 12th. Stood at 12th overall with available salary cap projected in 2025. They're now 7th. They moved all the way up to 7th after dumping Laughton's contract and dumping Kuzmenko's, which they would have dumped anyway. But Dumping those two deals, the Flyers were able to move all the way up to the 7th most cap projected in 2025. And with the Cal Peterson $5 million AAV coming off the books this summer, and Ivan Provorov's 40% of his contract coming off the books this summer, the Flyers could find themselves in the top 5 of most available salary cap in the National Hockey League. But the problem is going to be, and this is where we're going to, I want to focus in on the Flyers' future, then round back to the NHL trade deadline and give you my assessment, and we'll talk about some key trades. The problem with the Flyers potentially moving into the top 5 of most available salary cap in 2025 is the class of 2025. There's a couple players there, but there's nobody that really fits the Flyers' long-term projected needs as a free agent. There's some older players that are going to be available in 2025, just to give you a couple names heading into this season. But there's Jonathan Traverse, he's going to be a free agent, but he's 34 years old. Mitch Marner is going to be a free agent, but Marner comes with a $10 million AAV. Flyers ain't going to pay that for a 27-year-old right wing. Jamie Benn of the Dallas Stars, he's a free agent, but he's 35. Nick Backstrom from the Capitals is going to be a free agent and centerman with a $9.2 million AAV, and he's 37. Brett Burns, Dmitry Orov, who kind of reminds you a lot of a player we have here in town. Aaron Ekblad, which is an interesting player, but he could be 29, but he carries a $7.5 million hit. Provorov, which obviously we're not going to touch him. Brock Besser, who recently changed addresses. Claude Giroux's a free agent. Marchand, who changed addresses, is a free agent. Brock Nelson, who changed addresses, is a free agent. I mean, there's some names here, TJ Oshie, but they're all older players, and they don't necessarily project to the Flyers' long-term plans. And I'm thinking about this. Keith Jones, I was watching an interview a couple weeks ago where he said, we should have money to play with this summer, and they will. And there'll be even more money in 26 when they drop Kevin Hayes' contract, when that comes off the books. And then in 26, or I should say, 26 is Ryan Ellis's money comes off the books too, I believe. It's either 26 or 27. I think it's 26. His money comes off the books. So the Flyers cap future is looking really bright. The problem is there's not necessarily the players that are available currently right now in free agency. And Keith Jones did an interview where he said, yes, our cap situation is greatly improving, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go out and spend it on players that don't fit, because that's how we got into this problem in the first place. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Flyers do this summer in free agency. And I think, honestly, if you look across the board at all the players that are available in free agency, and then now you got to throw goaltending into that mix too. We don't have a number one goalie here. We don't. And Sam Erson's not a number one. He's a number 2. Ivan Fedotov, Alexei Kovasov, they can both go away. I really don't care anymore about those two projects goalies. Kovasov's a mess. And Fedotov, I don't think will ever be anything more than a 2 as well. So you got to look goaltending next year, and not necessarily a long-term solution there. Maybe a 3-year deal to a veteran. And there's some veteran goalies out there that are going to be available, but you got to get a bridge to the next group of prospects, which is Bjornsson and Zaradin. You got to create a bridge to them, because I don't think Erson is ever going to be more than a 2. I think he's a solid goalie in the NHL, 100%, but he's never going to be a number 1. And that's okay, right? But he does have a place here as the backup. But the Flyers are going to have to go out in free agency and sign a goalie next year. If they're serious about wanting to compete for a playoff position in 2026, they're going to have to do that. They just can't go into next season with the same goalie situation, because it's a mess right now. Erson is not reliable. He's not consistent enough. We've seen it now over the course of 2 seasons where he was given the opportunity to shoulder the burden, and he couldn't do it for whatever reason. But as a backup, he's fine. We just need to find a veteran goaltender, sign him to a 3-year deal, bridge him to Bjornsson and Zarajan, so we get the next group of friggin' prospects up here and have them get a look at as well. So free agency is a cloudy situation for the Flyers. It's cloudy in 2025. It's not sunny. They got the money, but there's not really the many players available, or players that there's many. Of course, there's many players available. But there's not many players that fit the Flyers' long-term needs available. They're all older, and we're not looking to sign. Are we looking to sign friggin' 37-year-old Brad Marchand to a contract? What the hell would he do here? I mean, we want to get better. Now, you could use free agency to kind of round out your roster, because there's certain gaps on this team that I'm just so frustrated to night after night see. The lack of center, the lack of offense, the regression of the defensive core this year has been remarkable across all fronts of all 6 of them. They have regressed as a unit, and I don't know where that's come from. Such promise heading into this season from last year defensively has completely fallen off a cliff. Cam York has worked his way almost out of the city. I'm still a Cam York guy, but I would not be surprised that they shop him over the summer, because he's fallen out of favor with the Flyers. He's fallen out of favor with Tortorella. He's fallen out of favor with the whole friggin' thing. And, of course, don't get me started on Travis Sanheim. Don't get me started on Igor Zamula. The defensive core is a mess right now, and the Flyers are going to have to address it through free agency. That's going to happen through free agency. They're going to have to bring in defensive players, the plug and play, to kind of shore up the defense. Because what looked at one point as a promising young group of players does not look that way anymore. And so they're going to have to find a way to kind of fix that. And then also try to find some offensive firepower. And, there's only so much money out there, and there's only so many players available. The Flyers and Danny B really need to start focusing on trades. All right. Danny B was asked this the other day. When are you going to start accumulating assets or accumulating players instead of selling them off? And he said it's a legitimate question, and that day is coming soon. And we got to get that straight. But it's not coming through free agency. The Flyers have a boatload of draft picks this summer. They have 7 in the first 2 rounds. I think 12 overall. They're not going to use all those draft picks. It's time to maneuver some of those picks for some players. And that's how this team is really going to improve, is through trading some of those draft picks away. And for known talent. The Flyers are in dire need of a John LeClair, Eric Desjardins for Mark Recchi, or a Scott Hartnell and Kimmo Timonen for a number 1 overall draft pick trade. They are in dire need of a franchise-altering trade. We spoke about this recently. I've been putting together my all-time Flyer roster, and we've kind of brought up some of those old memories about those players and how they arrived here. The most infamous trade in Philadelphia sports history. I don't think there's a better one out there, or a more franchise-altering trade than the trade that sent Mark Recchi to the Canadiens for LeClair and Desjardins. I think that was a franchise-altering trade by the Flyers. It set the Flyers in a motion of excellence for over the next 10, 15 years. And then I think the same thing was when in 2007, after trading Forsberg to the Predators for their number 1 draft pick, they ended up sending that draft pick right back to the Predators at the end of the year for Timonen and Hartnell, which totally changed the direction of this franchise. Danny B is in dire need of one of those trades this year. Dire need to get this thing kicked in the ass, because we got to get something going here, man. We're stuck in the mud. We're stuck in neutral. And then the question of whether or not John Tortorella is the guy going forward is, I'm sure, a question that's going to pick up steam over the next few weeks as the season winds down. MattyB Michkov was benched at one point today. And I'm never going to question a coach and why they're benching a player. And don't give me the crap, oh, well, they're a young team. How's he going to figure it out unless he plays? No, there's a whole bunch of other things that go into why a player is benched. And he addressed it briefly at the media availability. It's not because of his play on one certain individual play. It's a culmination of things that make a coach bench a player. MattyB Michkov is not above the law. None of the players in the Flyers are. They need to be held accountable regardless of the situation the team is in. That's how you develop culture. Now, the same line, what was it? Joel Farabee threw some shade at Tortorella by saying it was nice to be back on a first line, or it was nice to be trusted to be back on a first line now that he's with Calgary. So, I mean, there's going to be many sides to this, but I think it's a legitimate conversation that needs to be had starting now. Is John Tortorella, has his shelf life come to fruition? Is it time for a different voice inside that locker room heading forward into next season? And, the rebuild we're nowhere closer in this rebuild this year than we were this point this year than we were last year. With maybe the exception of we have established a third line, Cates, Forrester, and Brink. We've established that as our actual third line. But other than that, we're nowhere different than we were last year. It's still the same problems plague this team. Lack of true center depth, lack of superstar power. Defense is taking a step backwards, and now the goaltending is starting to really rear its ugly head. So at what point does Danny B start getting held accountable for acquiring talent, not assets, but talent? At what point? You would think at this point right now, 7 picks in the first 2 rounds of this summer's draft. 7, 3 firsts and 4 seconds. This would be the prime opportunity for Danny B to pull off a John LeClair or Scott Hartnell type of trade. And it needs to happen if the Flyers are serious about competing long term. I'm not saying the trade this summer is going to propel them into the Stanley Cup Finals. No, but we need to see movement on all the fronts. With the moving of Farabee and Frost and Lawton and other players that the Flyers have moved on from this year, they have shown us, the fan base, that they have completed their assessments of this team, that they know now who are the ones they want and who they don't want. The next logical step for that is to build upon that foundation. And that's got to start here. And right now, with a ripe amount of assets, with a lot of draft capital, which is gold in this league, and now with a moderate amount of salary cap, the 7th most right now, heading into the summer of 2025. Now, they will probably get more because, as I said, there's $5 million more coming off the books with Cal Peterson, and then Provorov's remaining contract comes off the books. So there's more money there. It probably will push them upwards in the $30 million mark, which is top 5 in the NHL for salary cap. Now, again, the class of 2025 free agents are vast. There's some talent there, but there's some older talent. It's talent that is not necessarily going to be for the Flyers for the long term. But that salary cap room could be used to acquire players via trade. So I think it's incumbent. No more. I don't want to hear no more of, well, if you liked last season's offseason lack of movement, lack of trades, well, then you're going to love. I don't want to hear that anymore. There's no more excuse for that. We've moved assets and we've moved players along. We've gotten the salary cap situation somewhat cleared up. It's time now. And I'm not saying go right back into bad contract hell. No, I'm not saying that. But it's time to start acquiring talent. It's time to start bringing talent here. And no more of this. And again, I'm not saying it's going to propel us into the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is they have done their due diligence. They have acquired massive amounts of draft capital, and they have cleared up massive amounts of salary cap. Now it's time to start acting on that. You're not going to sign a player just to sign a player, but you can use that salary cap via trade, and you could bring on contracts here that you probably couldn't afford. So we're going to wait and see as this thing clears up. Now, as far as the product on the ice, it's borderline unwatchable, as the team seems to maybe have somewhat quit. I don't want to use that word, but maybe they're just not in it anymore to win it. Maybe they're seeing the trade deadline lack of movement or the trade deadline selling as an indication, why am I out here beating my brains against the wall when they don't want to win? I don't know. And I hate to go there because it's almost like I'm doing this and it really upsets me. It's almost like I am opening the doors today to Big Al's Excuse Emporium by saying that the Flyers emotionally are quitting on the team because they're not seeing, or mentally quitting on the team because they're not seeing a commitment from ownership. And that would be on aisle 5 of Big Al's excuse emporium about why the Flyers are struggling. And I am not one to shop at Big Al's excuse emporium. And it's very, very wrong of me to say that. But I think you got to look at what you got to look at and kind of make your assessment of this team based on what you see. So I approve of the trade deadline moves made by the Flyers. I would like to have seen them dump Risto, and I would have loved to see them. You know, I had to go back and look at Travis Sanheim's contract. Do you guys know what he's under? So he carries a 6 or what is his hit? Let me take that. I'm sorry. Sorry, Big Al's house of excuse emporium. I didn't mean to put you back up. So let's take a look right now, and I want to bring this up. So be patient with me. I got the thing up, but where am I? Let's go here. Here I am. All right. So let's go to 2030 because that's when he's a free. No, is he a free agent? 2031. 2031. Travis Sanheim is a free agent. We are saddled with this guy till 2031, and he carries with him an AAV of $6.25 million a season. So $6.25 million we pay Travis Sanheim for below average defensive work and slightly average offensive work. He's getting paid $6.25 million through 2030, 2031. The 2031 season, or 2031 season is his last year on their contract at $6.25 million a year. Was Chuck Fletcher and him working like some sort of side deal? Like, hey man, I'm going to give you this really absurd contract. You're never going to meet up the expectations of it, but you know, we can split it, and you know, we both can. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. But he's my next target, right? He's my next friggin' target. Him and Sean Couturier. We need to find a way to get rid of both of them. Couturier is a free agent at the end of 2030. He carries a $7.25 million AAV that we're going to be paying till the end of 2030. So the cap situation is clearing up, but it's at a very interesting point because we still do have a couple bad contracts that we're responsible for. So if we make some bad decisions with free agency now, we're right back into the same boat we were in. So it's a very interesting spot for the Flyers to be in when it comes to salary cap. They've cleared up a little bit of it, but they're in a vicarious spot. If they make some bad decisions this offseason, they still have a few of them are on the team that there are totally terrible contracts. They could find themselves right back in the same position. So I honestly believe, I'll go back to this, Danny B needs a John LeClair, Eric Desjardins, or a Chemo Timonen, Scott Hartnell type trade to kickstart this friggin' rebuild. And until we get one of those trades, this, unfortunately, is what the Flyers will be doing every single season as we wait for prospects to develop. And I don't know if I have the patience anymore for this, man. I really don't. It's been way too long since the Flyers have played. What, 2020 was the last time we went to the playoffs? 2020, the bubble year, right? 1920 was the last time the Flyers made the playoffs. Honestly, man, just amazing. Utterly amazing. So 5 years and counting. Something's got to give, man. Something's got to give. And there's a lot of questions that we're going to have to talk about, and a lot of things that are going to have to be answered. Is John Tortorella the answer for this team going forward? Has he worn out his welcome? Has his shelf life ticked up, right? He's done the heavy lifting for this franchise over the last 3 seasons. There's no doubt in my mind. But now that the foundation has been laid, is it time to give it to a different carpenter? To sort of give a different viewpoint or a different word. That's going to be probably a question that's asked and answered in the offseason. So we'll wait to then. But yeah, it's frustrating to be a Flyers fan right now. But I do approve of the trade deadline moves made by Danny B and Keith Jones as they attempt to get better. The NFL cards are NFL Pro set. I got Emmitt Smith, Jerry Rice, and Troy Aikman cards. So you got so you got Emmitt Smith. So Aikman's a rookie, right? The Aikman 90 is a rookie because Aikman broke in the league in 89. Jerry Rice is not a rookie. Emmett, yeah, that's a rookie card for him too. A pretty decent little haul. Have you taken them to any card site and bounce them around and see what they're valued at? Decent cards, man. That Jerry Rice card probably ain't worth much towards the end of his career in '90. Was it still with the Raiders? Was he with the Raiders at this point, or was he still with the? No, he was probably still with the 49ers. Yeah, no, not bad at all, Adam. Good job, man. Hope you're getting into it, man. Get into the craft, man. It's fun. It's a fun thing, trading cards or collecting cards and trading them. Brad Marchand got traded to the Panthers. Yeah, we're going to let's get into some of those, some moves that were made over the last couple of days. We're going to talk about a few of them. First, let's go with March 7th. The Leafs were busy on Friday. They acquired Reese Johnson from the Wild for future considerations. They also acquired Brandon Carlo from the Bruins, forward Fraser Minton, a conditional first-round pick in 2026, a fourth-round pick in the 2025 draft, and the Panthers acquired the aforementioned Brad Marchand from Boston for a conditional second-round pick in 2027. That's all it would take to get Brad Marchand was a second-round pick. Wow. Devils acquired forward Mark McLaughlin from the Bruins for forward Daniil Missoul. The Penguins acquired defenseman Corey Timmins and forward Connor Dewar from the Maple Leafs for a fifth-round pick in 2025. Ottawa acquired my boy, man. I know this guy, Fabian Zetterlund. I'm a friend of his. And Tristan Robbins, a fourth-round pick in the 2025 NHL draft for forwards Zach Osterpuck and Noah Gregor, and a second-round pick in 2025. Boston also acquired Henry Yorokin from the Sabres for a fourth-round pick in 2026. The Devils acquired forward Danielle Sprong from the Kraken for a seventh-round pick in 2026. Carolina acquired Mark Janowski from the Predators for a fifth-round pick. The Devils acquired forwards Cody Glass and John Gruden, not the coach, but Cody Glass, who's a free agent, by the way. I wouldn't mind seeing him as a Flyer next year. From the Penguins for forwards Chase Stillman and Max Graham, and a third-round pick in 2027. Here's the big one. The Dallas Stars acquired Mikko Ratnin from the Carolina Hurricanes for Logan Stavorin, a conditional first-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft, a conditional first-round pick in 2028, a third-round pick in 2026, and a third-round pick in 2027. Huge trade there from the Hurricanes and the Stars. Chicago acquired Aku Reti and Victor Sanderson and Shea Weber from the Utah Hockey Club. I did not even know honestly, did not know Shea Weber was still playing in the league. Is he not? He's not playing, is he? The Rangers acquired former Flyer Nicholas Abu-Kabul from the Sabres for defenseman Eric Brandstrom. Colorado acquired Eric Johnson from our beloved Philadelphia Flyers for Giovanni Smith. Now, I didn't mention Giovanni Smith. He's a straight-up project player. We'll definitely be speaking about him at another time. Colorado also acquired forward Charlie Coyle, a fifth-round pick in 26 from Boston for forwards Casey Middlestat, William Zellers, and a second-round pick in 2025. The Devils acquired Dennis Chanowski from the Islanders for Adam Breckman. Toronto also acquired, or that's the Scott Lawton deal. Winnipeg acquired Brandon Taviv from Seattle for a second-round pick. I've always liked Brandon Taviv. I really have always liked him. Columbus acquired forwards Luke Canoe from San Jose and for a fourth-round pick this year. Detroit acquired goalie Peter Mrazek, going back to Detroit, our second or third time with the Red Wings, for forward Craig Smith from the Blackhawks, for forward Joe Valino. Winnipeg also acquired Luke Schenn. Big-time move there. Luke Schenn was projected potentially to be headed to New Jersey, but did not make it there. But he went to Winnipeg for a second-round pick in 26 and a fourth-round pick in 2027. Ottawa also acquired Dylan Cousins, defenseman Dennis Gilbert, and a second-round pick in 26 from Buffalo for forward Josh Norris and defensive Jacob Bernard Docker. Capitals acquired forward Anthony Belvar and from the Penguins. So the Penguins are selling. Ottawa acquired defenseman Jake Wallman from San Jose for a conditional first-round pick in 26. Anaheim acquired defenseman Oliver Clinton from the Islanders for a future consideration. Colorado, another big one. This is the second big trade of the deadline. Colorado acquired Brock Nelson and William DeFore from the Islanders for forward Colm Ritchie, defenseman Oliver Clinton, and first round, who then he got moved as well, and a first round pick in 26 or the 27th draft, and a third round pick in 2028. So we're going to stop it there. So Ottawa, a buyer. Obviously, Toronto was buying. Ottawa's all in and trying to get to the playoffs. Toronto, Colorado, Dallas, those teams were definitely, you could see the teams that were all in on trying to win a Stanley Cup. Obviously, the two big trades that I mentioned there. So a lot of movement in this year's trade deadline. How these moves will work out this season for those teams, and of course, long term for teams like the Flyers is yet to be determined. But we've hit that magical point in every NHL season, the point of no return. And there sure as hell ain't no return for the Flyers. So there you go, my little Flyers spiel. And I've been negligent about hockey, and I want to apologize. Hockey's my thing, man, and I've really kind of shied away from it lately. But yeah, it was a pretty good little breakdown, right? Gave you my 2 cents worth on all of it. Goaltending, a true centerman, and massive defensive help are what the Flyers need. So that we need a goalie, a starting goalie for at least 3 years. We need probably 2 impact centers, a number 1 and a number 2. And we need massive defensive help, which that massive defensive help could come in a lot of different ways. We could trade for it, or you could sign some veteran free agents for it. But we need some help, man, on this team. And we'll see what Danny B does. And we'll see what kind of summer it is, because the Flyers should be players. They have the capital, both in assets and money, to be players this summer. So wait and see what Danny B does. All right. Let's now go to the Of the Night segment. All right, this is the Of the Night segment, part of the show where we talk about a Flyers prospect, a Phillies prospect, a Flyers spotlighted player, a Phillies spotlight player, MLB draft target, or an NHL draft target. We just have some fun with it. We've been tripling it up, doubling it up over the last week or so. We're going to continue. It was a triple trifecta tonight, but we already talked about Nikita Graboinkin, the Flyers' new prospect, so we're not going to revisit him, but I can cross him off my list. Giovanni Smith will have to follow too. I thought I was done with all the prospect players, but Flyers keep adding more, but that's okay. So we're not going to do 3 for 3, but we are going to go 2 for 2 tonight. And let's start with the Phillies. Let's do some Phillies spotlighting tonight. And here's one of the players that we're pinning our hopes of our future success in 2025 on, newly acquired Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins. Appeared in 12 games last year, a stellar 5.00 ERA, 58 strikeouts and 22 walks. Of course, missed significant time due to lumbar injuries in 2024. When healthy, he is a solid number 3 in anybody's rotation. When healthy, he's definitely a guy that can help any rotation. The Phillies are taking a flyer on Luzardo. It was a trade, by the way. It wasn't a free agent signing. It was a trade. Phillies giving up a prospect in Starlin Caba, who's a young shortstop prospect that the Phillies would probably never, ever. I mean, he's down there in high A, so he's years away. But we picked up some need this year, right now, with Jesus Luzardo. If healthy, he is a game changer. Phillies are banking on him to be healthy. So it just kind of goes in line with everything I was talking about earlier as we started kind of amping up our Phillies talk. I think they're a pretty solid team, 1 and 2 in the rotation. I think Nolan Wheeler does not pretty much. Nolan Wheeler, a top 5 tandem in the league. But after that, to me, there's a lot of question marks with this rotation. A lot of them. And he's one, and here's one of them right here, is Jesus Luzardo. What is he going to be in 2024 for the Phillies? Of course, what's Ranger Suarez going to be? And what is Christopher Sanchez going to be? Taijuan Walker threw 3.5 innings the other day. Gave a tape measure shot home run that chased him out of that game, but he pitched pretty good. But, to me, after Nolan Wheeler, I see a bunch of question marks in the Phillies starting rotation. And Jesus Luzardo will go a long way in answering some of those questions. So there you have your Phillies spotlight player of the night, is Jesus Luzardo. So one of the players that we're banking on to assist the Phillies greatly this year. Now let's go to our third part of our Of the Night segment. Of course, we already talked about Flyer prospect. Now we're going to go into the NHL draft. That's right. All this talk about acquiring assets and draft picks and NHL draft bearing down on us. Let's talk some NHL draft tonight. Let's talk about a prospect. And there you go. Here it is. Milton Gastrin, the centerman from Modo of the Swedish Hockey League, 6'1", 186 pounds, He's not a dynamic offensive player, but he handles it well, makes plays around the net, and seems to really understand timing and spacing. He also got a natural shot. he also got a natural shot and release. Liking his frame, I like the 6'1", 186, but I don't see that being more than a number 3 centerman in this league. I need a little bit more dynamic, but if he can skate and he can make plays, I would love to see what a player like this and paired up with Michkov would look like for the Flyers. He projects to be lower tier of the first round. So yes, somewhere in that middle of the pack range, 15 through 19, is where he projects to fall. And that is where right now, one of the Flyers' first round draft picks would be. And he's a center. Again, there's always sort of a crapshoot when you're going after European players with the bigger ice, smaller, wider ice. And then they got to play in a bigger, narrower ice surface in the NHL. How would that project? But as I said, with this profile and how this reads out, if he could project to be a part of the Michkov line, because that's what I think it's key right now. We got a third line, and any goon can be in the fourth line, and I think we have a fourth line. We really got to work on our first and second lines, and I think he'd be a good piece to that, especially maybe at number 2. But again, we're talking years from now. But is he someone that if available at 14 through 17 or 14 through 19? Let the Flyers take a shot on. I would much prefer a player like this over a player like Jetlachenko, who I maintain was a reach at 13. I'm sorry. He was a reach there. But there you go. There's your Flyers or your NHL draft prospect, Milton Gaston. And that is going to wrap up the Of the Night segment. Let's keep the train rolling because I have the distinct honor of tonight of completing my all-time Flyer roster. I guess we're staying on the Flyers. My all-time Flyer roster is done. The segment ends tonight. I've given you my 4 lines. I've given you my 3 defensive pairings. I've given you my 2 goaltenders. Tonight, I'm giving you my coach, my all-time Flyer coach. No-brainer here for me. There was a close second with a coach, and we'll talk about it, but this guy was no-brainer. But let's remind the folks at home what the all-time Flyer roster, or MattyB's all-time Flyer roster, looks like. Line 1 is the LCB line. And again, I got to say this every time I talk about the LCB line, is that this just happened to be a line that actually existed in real time, and these players actually played together. That was not. I'm not picking actual lines from Flyer history. I'm taking the best players from Flyer history and putting them on the line that I think they belong. And this line just happened to be a real line, and it was the best in Flyer history. There's never going to be anything like it again. So I kept them together as my first number 1 overall line. Line 2, I got Leclerc, Lindros, and Giroux. I think this line would complement the LCB line with a little bit more physicality, still with the same type of offensive skill set, but more physical. And then I'm going to go down to line 3, and I'm going back again. I'm bouncing back and forth. I hit you with line 1, I hit you with line 2. Then I come at you with line 3 with McLeish, Prop, and Recchi. Again, faster players who can score, not as physical, but they can play a perimeter game. They can also go to the net if they have to. And then I finish up with line 4, which is power, net presence, Tocchet, Brindamore, and Kerr. I keep coming at you wave after wave after wave with my all-time Flyer roster. My defensive pairings all-time, my D1, it's got to be Chris Pronger and Eric Desjardins. Pronger wasn't here long, but he definitely made his presence felt, and his career through the NHL was a Hall of Famer career. Unfortunately, dealing with the concussion problem cut his career short probably by about 10 years. But it was enough to give Pronger number 1 seeding on my first D pairing. And Eric Desjardins, we mentioned it. The trade, the franchise-altering trade. Flyers are in desperate need of one of these, and he was ours. And he's definitely on my D1 pairing. My D2 pairing is Mark Howe and Kimmo Timonen. Again, another franchise-altering trade there with Timonen. My D3 is a D3 group that played together. It's the Watson brothers, and they won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and they are my D3. My 2 goalies, Bernie Parent and Pelle Lindbergh. I don't care. I don't want to hear Ron Hextall. Get that out of here. Bernie Parent won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and Pelle Lindbergh's life was snuffed short. But I really maintain that if he would have stayed alive, he would have been one of the best to ever play the game. So that leads me now to my coach. And again, it's no-brainer. how can I not go with anybody but the 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Fred Shearer, winning now and we'll walk together forever, and all the other quotes he would come up with. Probably the most colorful coach in Flyer history, the best coach in Flyer history. Hands down, my all-time coach is Fred Shearer. I thought an honorable mention should go to Mike Keenan, because I thought what he did with the Flyers in the mid-'80s was amazing. But I cannot not go with Fred as my all-time head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. And there you have it. I've completed it, man. It's done. MattyB's all-time Flyer roster to go along with MattyB's all-time Phillies lineup. So I've done it. I'm done. Leave me alone. I won't talk about that crap anymore. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Shea Weber is already in the Hall of Fame, but one more year of his contract with the Flyers. Yeah, I didn't even know he was still in the league, honestly. Honestly, didn't even know that. All right. What else are we doing? What are we doing, man? Oh, yeah, let's go check in. We talked about this the other night, and now let's kind of look in on it. The Paul Skeens 1-of-1 rookie auto MLB debut patch from the 2024 Topps Chrome Update Series. The Mount Rushmore of rookie cards, a card so sought after by the Pittsburgh Pirates that they offered a 30-year season ticket bounty on this card once it was found. They were offering 30 years of season tickets, a bunch of Paul Skeens swag, a personal spending a game up in his luxury box with his girlfriend, a meet and greet, all kinds of stuff. If the person who would find this card would turn into the Pirates. The card was purchased on Black Friday by a mom and dad, given to their 11-year-old son as part of a Christmas present, opened up on Christmas morning, discovered on Christmas morning, and sent to auction Thursday. They decided they don't want the 30-year season ticket plan. I don't blame them. What the hell would you want 30-year season tickets to the Pirates for? I don't know where they're from. I think they're from California, these people. Maybe I should do some more research. I don't know where they're from. But mom and dad, probably mainly dad, took the card from Junior and said, no, I think we'll auction it off. And they did. So they put it up on the premier auction at the Fanatic on Thursday night. Started the bidding at $1,000. The card will remain on auction through 20 March, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But as of right now, 56 bids have been made on the card, and the last bid stands at $550,000. $550,000 is the current bid on the Paul Skeens rookie 1-of-1 auto MLB patch in the Topps Update Chrome series of 2024 Topps. A baseball card. Is fetching $550,000 currently at an auction. In the wrong business, man. But of course, I would never find that card. I talked about this the other night. You know how cool that would have been? How cool of a Christmas morning was that? And I know if it was me and my 11-year-olds opening up a pack of baseball cards, and I see the Paul Skeens 1-of-1, Mount Rushmore. First of all, I'm probably going to leap across the room. Stop! Drop the car. I mean, man. I'm sure it was a great day. I'm sure that was a Christmas morning they'll never forget as long as they live. This is life-changing for this family. This card is projected to fetch in the $1 million range, and it's well over halfway there at this particular moment in time. So Paul Skeens, it's this card right here. We talked about it on Thursday, and we'll keep checking in on it, but this is the card right here. This is the actual card. They found it, sent it off to PSA, got it graded. Of course, it came back at 10. It's a 1-of-1, so you would think that it would be a 10. And it is currently now sitting on auction, and the latest bid is $550,000. So for those of you out there who were looking to maybe change your world and spend $1 million for a baseball card, Paul Skeens is sitting there right now. Go do it. Too rich for my blood. All right, that's going to take me into the best part of the night. The best part of the night. Here we go.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my card review segment of the program. Of course, I'm not going to be reviewing the Paul Skeens 101 updated Chrome Tops 2024. No, I won't be doing that. Unfortunately, I won't be sitting here if I had that card. But this is the part of the show where I take one of my sports cards from my vast collection, and we talk about it. We put it up on the computer there. We discuss the player. We discuss potential financial value. I don't have any $550,000 cards. And we discuss maybe something about the player, where I was when I pulled the card, so on and so forth. And tonight we're staying in baseball, and we're staying in tops, actually, because that's the king of baseball cards. And we're going back to the year 2019 to a card of a player that's absolutely not a good player, but it's a cool card. And sometimes it works out that way in the industry. It's really weird. So tonight's card review is on the 2019 Topps Chrome Chance Adams auto. This is a card that was, again, it's part of those special insert cards. So for those of you that don't know much about the industry, I'll clue you in. Topps, and there's multiple companies that still do baseball cards, but Topps is the king. They release 6 sets of cards throughout the season. Right now, in February, or let's say in March, I forgot we're in March, Topps Series 2025 Series 1 is out. All right, they're already hitting the shelves. I've already gotten a few packs of them. So Series 1 is out. Now, each one of these series has these little special gimmick cards, little special offers, inserts, relics, memorabilia, autos, whatever. Later this summer, Topps Series 2 will come out, and that'll be basically the cards from spring training that they're taking pictures of right now, and some of the players that have not debuted yet, so on and so forth. Right around the early part of fall, or right after Series 2 comes out, the Topps Chrome cards will come out. And that's where this is from. This is from the Topps Chrome set of 2019. But the Chrome set will come out. And then about a couple weeks after that, the update series will come out, which will capture the players that were called up throughout the season, or players that weren't captured in Series 2. But they'll be captured in the update series. And then the update Chrome series comes out, which of course that's the series that every year has all those MLB debut patch cards. It's not just Paul Skeens that had that card. There were like 25 or 250 rookies given the opportunity to wear the MLB debut patch by Topps last season. Paul Skeens was one of them. Jackson Holiday was one. There was a few others, and some of those cards are still out there, by the way, haven't been found yet. But that's where those cards are found, in the Topps Update Chrome series. And then they'll wrap it all up around November 1st with the holiday set, which they release every year. It's a Christmas themed background. We've talked about holiday cards on this show before. I have a few of them, and I'm sure we'll come across some as well. But that's sort of how this rolls. So this is out of the 2019 Topps Chrome. Now, this is Chance Adams. By the way, again, this has no indication about the player. 1-2 overall record, an 8.42 ERA, 33 strikeouts, has already been dealt once. He was DFA'd by the Yankees. He's now a Royal. Actually, I don't even know where he went to Kansas City. Then he went to Colorado, and was a free agent as of the late 2020. Did not play in MLB in 2024, and currently is still a free agent in 2025. So he's not currently pitching in major leagues anymore. But because of the way the card is set up, it's an auto, it's a rookie card, and it's a Chrome card. This card still catches about $5 on most databases. This is a $5. This card's worth about $5, and pretty damn good for a player that's no longer pitching in Major League Baseball and only lasted a couple seasons to begin with, and who has a career ERA of north of 8. So that is why we're talking the Chance Adams 2019 Topps Chrome rookie. And here it is. And I think I got about a 9.995. It's a pretty nice looking card. Again, and there it is. So it doesn't necessarily always mean it has anything to do with the value of the player. Sometimes it has everything to do with the value of the card, the design of the card, the insert of the card, the series of the card, what all that might be. Sometimes that equates to it. And that's the only reason why you can sit here and I can tell you that this card right here of a baseball player that lasted a couple seasons, it hasn't pitched since 2023, is worth $5. His rookie card currently. So that's the magic. Now, back in the wax days, it didn't work that way. Back in the wax days, you were a dud. You were a dud. Your card's worthless. But these days, it's not like that. It's all about the design value of the card. So never throw cards away. Big rule of thumb, if you're thinking about getting into collecting sports cards, big rule of thumb, obviously the known players, the known good ones, the obvious ones. You pull off to the side. You pull every rookie card you find, and you hold on to them in a special place. And then you just evaluate and keep an eye on their careers as they go, and then filter out from there. So that's MattyB's rule or tip of the day. If you're looking about getting into sports card collecting, that's how you should do it. All right, so busy night, well over an hour, and I want to thank everybody for participating. A lot tonight, mainly Flyers driven. Trade deadline is come and gone. The Flyers are once again sellers. We are going to suspend the Clear the Ice postgame show after the 31st of March till next season to focus on the Titans final. And the Flyers are moving forward with some salary cap relief in sight and some opportunities with a lot of assets to potentially be players in the trade market come this summer. We desperately need a franchise-altering trade. We desperately need that from Danny B. Goaltending is a problem. We've addressed that. Center is a problem. Defense is a complete nightmare. The season's over, and the Flyers are moving on. So are we here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. But again, please stay tuned with us through the rest of this month at least, as we got you covered. Mike was on today. Sal will be on Tuesday against the Senators, and Mike will be back on Thursday against the Lightning. And as I said, we'll keep it going to the 31st, but then we're going to focus in on the Phillies and the other things we have planned for the summer. So please stay with us. I unveiled my final piece to my all-time Flyer roster, and that was the head coach. Fred Shira is my all-time Flyer head coach. No doubt about it. And we did our other night segment. We talked about the Flyer new prospect, Nikita Graboykin, and we also spoke about Jesus Luzardo and Milton Gastrin, an NHL draft prospect as well. So there was our other night segment card review, and we checked in on the Paul Skeens auction. 56 bids. Card is up to $550,000. So if you're looking to buy or purchase a Paul Skeens rookie card, go ahead and head over to the Fanatics auction site and put a bid in. You might get lucky. So we talked about all those things. Remember, tomorrow here on the network, Sal G will come at you at 7 o'clock with the wraparound. I will be back at 8 o'clock with Talking Phillies. Or, geez, did I just say Talking Phillies Sports and MattyB? I will be back with the final word at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. No post games tomorrow, but that's your lineup for tomorrow and all the great things that we got coming up all week long. So be on the lookout for all the great stuff here on It's a Wrap Sports. Have a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow. Take care.